In this video, I want to talk about two specific stories that really propelled my personal finances to where they are today. For some extra context, my name is Chris, and I've been an accountant for 10 years now. My wife and I paid off $43,000 of debt in about a year, and now we have a $1 million net worth. But it wasn't always this way. I wasn't always as sound with my money. I wasn't always as intentional with my finances. And I talk to a lot of people every single day about their own personal finances, and I really thought that these two stories could relate to maybe where you are on your journey, because I get it. Right now, it seems like it's impossible to go from where you are to where you want to be. I get it. I was there, but I'm telling you that it's possible. So these two stories are about taking action and being consistent. Two traits that, quite honestly, the people I talk to most are not even doing. Two traits that are probably the most important when it comes to personal finances: taking action, so starting, and then being consistent. Can you do something over a long enough time period? Because it doesn't do you any good if you set something up and you're unable to sustain it because, quote, life gets hard, or because you forget, or because you don't want to. About 10 years ago is when I got my first job, true job, as in the accounting field. Before that, I was doing skill adjacent jobs to accounting and to finance. So, a lot of numbers, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of analytics. But when I first landed this accounting job, it was also around the same time where I was about to make the largest purchase of my life up until that point. It was a brand new car. Now, I know how the internet has worked since then. In the last 10 years, people frown upon car loans, people frown upon new cars, etc. So that's not what this video is about, but I had gone through the process to buy a new car, and it was a Friday at my job, and I was going to pick up the car the next day. I was supposed to give them a check for the down payment and then pick up the car, sign the paperwork, yada, yada, yada. But then around 2 p.m. that afternoon, I had this sinking feeling in my stomach, and I didn't know if I had enough money in my checking account at the time to be able to hand them a check the next day. So I immediately went to the computer, checked my bank account, and I needed to write a check for $8,000 to hand the car dealership the next day to be able to drive my car off the lot. I checked the account balance. I'm like scrambling, putting in the password. The screen pops up, and my heart sinks again. The account read $6,439.13. I was freaking out inside. Now, for context, I had extra money in my savings account, so I had the money in total. But in my checking account, I did not have that money. So the next thing that I thought I could do was I had to make a balance transfer, and it had to happen today in order to give this check to them tomorrow so it clears in time, whatever. So I run to my manager's office. I'm like, oh, I am very sick. I need to go home. Mind you, it's Friday, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She's probably like, this guy's just trying to beat traffic. What the hell's going on? So I get in my car, zoom to the bank, fill out those little papers. Again, I'm very old, right? I could have probably just done it online. I'm a boomer. It's okay. I admit it. I'm a boomer. Not anymore, by the way. I used to be. Walk up to the desk to have the teller help me out with the balance transfer. She does the transfer, but tells me that the funds won't be available until Monday. Makes sense, but at the time, again, heart was sinking, heart was racing, and I'm like, I just messed up the biggest purchase of my life up until this point. To make a long story short, I bought the car. I told the car dealership to not cash the check for a couple days. They agreed. They didn't love it, but they agreed. And spoiler alert, it's still this car. I'm driving the same car that I was 10 years ago. But the reason why this was such a powerful story for me and how it changed is because, again, I went to school for accounting. I just got a job as an accountant. I was supposed to be this guy that knew numbers and was organized, and I didn't have a clue what was going on with my personal finances. I didn't even know what was in my bank account, my checking account. How is that possible? So not only was I embarrassed, this was my hell no moment number one. So if you've made it to this far in the video, let me know down below if you've ever had a hell no moment in your personal finances. And from there, I didn't really realize it at the time, but this is kind of what led me into budgeting. It didn't start off as budgeting. It first started off as, okay, let me just know how much money is in my bank account, right? That was step one. And then it turned into, okay, let me kind of look at it the first of every month and see how much is in there, and then see how much is in there the next month if I went up or down, and I'll just sort of track it that way. But then it turned into, well, I should probably know all the different types of expense categories that I'm using and sort of see like how everything's falling. And then it's like, well, I really need to be comparing those expense categories month over month to get a real idea of like how I need to be budgeting. And then from there, that's when it was like I was all in on budgeting every single month with my expenses. And so for me, that's why I just wanted to share this story. It didn't just start off as like going from nothing to just full on budgeting. And I understand there's a lot of people out there that maybe haven't budgeted before and they're intimidated to just start budgeting immediately, like the full on process. It seems very tedious. It seems like a lot of effort. And it can be a big change, but I urge you just to do something. So again, in my story, it didn't go from nothing to just full on budgeting. It was like, I need to just start tracking something. Like, so let me just check my bank account, make sure it's going up, I guess. I still wanted it to go up, but it was more just like, all right, what's going on? Am I spending more than I'm making? I didn't even really know at that point, which again, very embarrassing for someone who was striving to be an accountant, right? So that was about 10 years ago. So if we fast forward 5 years from that, about 5 years from now, my wife and I had actually just gotten married. And after we got back from the honeymoon, we were sitting on $43,000 of debt. None of it was from the wedding or anything like that. It was like student loans and just like a couple random credit cards that, not to point the fingers, but that my wife brought into the relationship. And it just turned to a point where we're like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing with this debt? Like, just get this out of here. We're like, again, so this was hell no moment number 2. We're like, why are we letting this like control our lives? We're making payments to other people and it's just like really annoying. And like, we wanted to like start building some serious wealth, and we had, creating a family was on the horizon. Now we have 2 kids. So we were starting to plan for that. And it just became a situation where like, why are we not being more aggressive with this? So we made it a huge commitment for both of us that we were going to do whatever it took to pay this debt down as soon as possible. And we didn't know it at the time, but we were actually choosing to pay down this debt using the debt snowball method, which, if you don't know, it's where you take your smallest balance and you pay that off first, and you pay them in order of smallest to largest. And that way you get, typically it's a quicker payoff with a shorter one, and then that one builds momentum and it carries into the next debt and the next debt and the next debt until you become debt free. And we didn't, again, realize it at the time. We didn't like do any research or, watch a video on YouTube or anything like that of how to do this. But it just made sense because it was like 4 or 5 loans that were $1,200 or less. And we're like, if we could just get rid of some of these smaller ones like now, that would be the most ideal. And then like the money that we're paying towards those would like really help knock out some of the other ones. So we literally did what the debt snowball was. We made minimum payments of 11 of the 12 loans that we had. And the smallest loan, we put as much money as we could towards it every single month. And we kept doing that over and over and over again. And in about 13 months, we were completely debt free from student loans, credit cards, etc. And then from there, we were able to really focus that money that we were putting towards debt. We didn't put it towards like a lifestyle creep. We didn't buy things. We didn't like improve our lives or whatever. We put it towards building our wealth, and we started just like investing into index funds and things like that. And now, we have a $1 million net worth. We got 2 kids that we're planning their education for as well. And it's just like a continual cycle. So this video is really for you guys out there who think it's not possible or personal finance success isn't for you. Let me tell you that it's just not true. It just takes effort and it takes consistency. You just need those 2 things to start. Effort, you need to start, and then consistency. You need to be able to do something that you can do month after month after month. So I don't want to see people out there accepting their lives, living paycheck to paycheck in all this debt, don't know how to get out of it. Because if you actually want to get out of it, there's a way to get out of it. And it's just by doing the basics, starting today and doing the basics, going from where you are, which seems uncertain because you're not budgeting and you're not tracking anything in your personal finances, to where you want to go, which is maybe you want to have enough to retire. Maybe you want to just have your kid's life be better than yours financially. Whatever the goal is, you need to know A, what's your starting point, B, what's your ending point, and then C, mapping a way to get from A to B in a way that makes sense for you and is sustainable for you. So stop trying to be like everyone else on social media and live this like rich lifestyle, or only money is the goal in your life, or people who say that this personal finance thing is easy, and it's not easy. I'll be honest, it's not easy. It's easier when you do the basics, when you take action, and when you're consistent. It's easier, but there's new levels of hard. So every time you get to a new level, there's a new situation that is very, very challenging, okay? But the easy part is just putting in effort. Everyone can put in effort. You don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to be good with numbers. You don't have to have had parents that showed you how to do the thing. You just need to put in effort. So down in the description of this video, I have what I call my personal finance level up kit, and I made it from scratch by myself for you guys, okay? So it has a debt payment calculator, it has a budget template, it has an emergency fund calculator, and it has a net worth tracker. All four of those things completely free for you. So if you're just starting out or you want a better situation, I would recommend checking that out below, because it's truly a life changer. Just starting to track your finances means everything, because once you track, it means you start caring. If you're not tracking something, it means you don't care. It's like if you're trying to lose weight but you're not stepping on the scale. If you're trying to lose weight, you better be getting on the scale. And if you're trying to get out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle, you better be creating a budget. You better be at least understanding, like, even baby steps like I took back in the day, right? Like understanding what's in your bank account this month versus next month, right? And then leveling it up from there. Okay, what are the different expense categories for me? And how is this changing month over month? You don't have to do everything all at once. You don't have to go from 0 to 100. Go from 0 to 20, and then go from 20 to 50, and then 50 to 100. Like, it doesn't all have to happen at one time. I just need to share that message with you guys, because I don't want people to be poor anymore. And if this video helps one person, then that's all I'm trying to do. So if you like this video, I'm uploading to YouTube every single day to talk about financial mindset, financial strategy, implementation, and really I want to see people win, okay? So keep checking out my daily videos. If you're interested, subscribe, do all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one.